Well, for more on the referendum, I'm joined from Brussels by Pavlos Efthymiou. He's a Risk and Geopolitics Analyst and has managed projects in the UK, Greece, and Belgium. And he's currently submitting his PhD in politics at the University of Cambridge. Pavlos, thank you so much for joining us. Athens and Skopje signed this agreement back in June, the Prespa Agreement, pending backing by voters in the former Yugoslav Republic and parliamentary changes. So what do you make of the message coming now from Skopje? Does this mean that the deal is dead?
Well, greetings, Roee. Thanks for having me. To begin with, well, you're right that we have an overwhelming yes vote, which is a 91%. This is non-negligible at all if we consider that the turnout was at 35%, and in the previous national elections they had a 67% turnout, and these were very polarized elections. So I wouldn't begin with the fact that it's dead or that the vote was unimportant. The vote itself was informative. The parliament was to decide anyway. And this is why you see all the leading figures within Skopje focusing actually on the parliamentary vote which is coming up.
This was a house divided, of course, the prime minister and president taking different positions. In fact, President Ivanov in New York at the General Assembly said that he would boycott the vote, that he would not vote. What do you make of that division there?
Well, as we know, the president comes from the previous regime, the one that was outed in the previous elections with a very polarized election. And naturally, President Ivanov is trying to voice the most conservative reaction to the Prespa Accord. An accord which is not to say without any problems for both sides, but it's an accord that paves the way for a historic turn of the page, and with some corrections can be tremendously advantageous for both sides, for Euro-Atlantic integration, stability in, as you said, the sensitive region of the Balkans. And I would say that it's not advantageous to see it as a dead vote, as a dead deal because of the vote, but it's interesting to see how this will pan out in the parliament of, as you said, a very divided parliament having to do with two very different regimes.
I want to get some context here for our viewers, if you may. What is the Greek opposition to the country being called Macedonia? Of course, it's about a third of the actual region of Macedonia, or in Greek, Macedonia. So does Athens fear that the country would make territorial claims beyond its borders, or is this more about cultural appropriation? And how would adding the word north change that?
Well, importantly, we had, in the Prespa Accord, you have this commitment of the side of Skopje to removing all irredentist claims from the constitution, any maps that they were teaching, from books. So it's a multi-layered, let's say, removal of any redentist claim. So this is very important for Greece. Also, you have the removal of symbols that allude to Alexander the Great, which is, let's say, the Greek historical heritage of Macedonia, a region that, as you correctly say, extends beyond the Greek borders. So on the one hand, we have the, let's say, safeguarding of history, but also of the territorial integrity of Greece. And on the other hand, you have a prospect for, let's say, the Euro-Atlantic integration of the region by Skopje coming closer to Europe through overcoming, let's say, these rigidities of the past and the most conservative voices in their own state.
Pavlos, Prime Minister Zoran Zaev may be the best friend Athens has had in Skopje in a while, but he's really putting his position on the line for this. Do you, you advise on risk. Do you think all this may backfire for him?
Well, I think that it's as you said, it's a very, very tense moment for all sides. The Greek government has also played the card of the deal very hard within Greece, and as you said, reactions in Greece are not small. Over 70% of the people are against the Prespa Accord, according to all polls. And this is problematic for the Greek government, and we have seen this in the polls in terms of the popularity of the government. And at the same time, for Zoran Zaev, it's all or nothing. He has himself proclaimed that if this doesn't go through the parliament, he will immediately call early elections. So it is game-changing. There is a profound opportunity to overcome the difficulties of the deal that include two problematic aspects, which is the recognition of a Macedonian ethnicity and a Macedonian language. This will be problematic for any Greek government and any Greek parliament to pass. But at the same time, with corrections, with goodwill on both sides, we can improve the accord and actually usher a new era for the Balkans with the beginning of Euro-Atlantic integration, beginning with NATO first, and then gradually EU membership for Skopje.
And given the results on Sunday, he'll have a tougher time, I imagine, in Parliament saying this is really what the people want. Pavlos Efthymiou, thank you so much for joining us live from Brussels.